Of course, all Houston sports are my team. So de facto, the Roughnecks are my team.
He's not allowed
Um,
to change ever. For the
okay.
record, now we can go back
Mhm.
to this
Yeah.
podcast when he
All right.
tries to become a Dallas Roughneck or a Dallas Renegades fan.
Mhm.
Say no. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Sports Den, the podcast. Just a small group, just a couple of us here tonight. Just me and Jonathan and I, for my grammar teacher, if she's ever listening, back in high school. Jonathan and I, and my mother. That's the one who drilled that into me. I think more than any other teacher I had. But yeah, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. We had a great Super Bowl. I loved the Super Bowl. It was awesome. Trade deadline was this week. Always one of my favorite weeks in sports. And then we get super exciting. XFL starts tomorrow. By the time this podcast is out, a couple of games will have already been played, and
Mhm.
then on Sunday as well. I'm so excited.
It's gonna be fun. So let's start off with Super Bowl. So I don't remember who I picked. I think I did pick 49ers eventually. I was going back and forth. So I picked
Yeah,
wrong.
I
Um,
yeah. I picked the Niners, but then again, what I said could also happen. I said had an equal chance of happening was Patrick Mahomes just throwing dots in the entire second half, and Patrick Mahomes is just. I think he could retire now and make the Hall of Fame already.
no, no. That's. I had a bad take like that earlier this week in our chat. We'll get to with some of the All Star game. That's up there. That's up there with that bad take. Um, I don't know. I will say the biggest thing there. I think Mahomes did well, but it was another case where Mahomes absolutely was not the MVP of that game.
Oh no, it was Fuller.
Like
Yeah.
Mahomes was in no way, shape, or form the MVP. They just make the quarterback the MVP, and it bugs me to no end. He was not the MVP. He was fantastic. Any
Well,
commercials
Fuller
jump
won.
out at you before we
Oh,
get into the game stuff? Any commercials
well,
that you remember?
the very first one right before kickoff, where it had the run on home kid and
Okay, yeah,
on Mohawk, and I thought that was great and everything. And the Pat Tillman moment almost made me cry.
yeah.
Uh, I loved it. It's everything I love about the NFL was in that moment. It was great. I thought it was awesome, uh, and a great way to celebrate 100 years of football.
Mm-hmm. That one was good. Doritos always shows up. The the Uptown Road one with Sam Elliott and the
I
the
laughed
dancing
so
mustache.
much on that one.
That one was funny. Um, the Bill Murray. Now it always anytime I always think of commercials is that there'll be a really funny commercial that I love, but it will have in no way, shape, or form will make me want to buy their product.
Yeah.
The Bill Murray Jeep commercial, it was great, or the Groundhog's Day because
Yeah.
Super Bowl was on Groundhog's Day. Jeep commercial, it was funny, it was great, I loved it. I have no desire to purchase a Jeep. I'm
hmm
not gonna buy a Jeep. The next time I consider buying a car, I'm not gonna consider a Jeep. So it didn't work. But those are the two that really stuck out. There are a few that if you mentioned, I probably remember, but nothing that really stuck out. I don't know if it was just the people I was with. We did a lot of talking and fellowshipping around commercials.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think the only other one that stood out to me was the Jason Momoa one, where
yeah, oh
I can't
yes,
remember what he was even selling, but it was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, where he kept.
Mostly because I also play the lap steel guitar and thought that was hilarious. Yeah.
But yes, that was there, and then so yeah, we had. It was good. It was a good game. I really enjoyed it. It was an entertaining game. Um, I watched it with a bunch of Seahawks fans, so they were rooting against the 49ers for the same reason I was rooting against the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then, yeah, I mean, I would even say I've got more reason to root, for the 49ers just because there were a lot of Broncos connections on the
Yeah,
49ers. So I just kind of like, seeing that. Um,
I will say this. I went to high school in southern Missouri, and I feel like I experienced joy through osmosis through my social media feeds because of all of my friends I went to high school with just so excited and crying tears of happiness over the Chiefs winning. So, yeah. Mhm.
I get that occasionally, but I also discovered that I don't know what this says me. It says about me as a person, but there's definitely moments when it's like, no, I want to see all my friends like suffer and sad. Like I enjoy seeing the depression of
I
we
live in
make
the
it. I'm
Titans.
so angry right now, and I'm like, yes.
I'm a Houston sports fan that lives in the Titans media area. I understand this completely. I want the Titans to suffer every time.
And you're just like, yes, let me feed on your misery. I don't know why I
Yes.
do that, but
Hmm.
maybe it's something I've got to get checked out. But yeah, so the game was great. So it came down. He didn't have enough, but Jimmy G played well. Like everyone was trying to badmouth him. No, he played very well, and he missed a pass that could have won the game. But he played. Jimmy G was not the reason that they lost the game. I've heard some people say he's the reason they lost. No, he's the reason they were in the game.
He
They just got beat. Richard Sherman, I think, is closer to more blame for losing that game.
Richard Sherman could not guard any one man,
Well, yeah, because
and and he got blown by Watkins,
he's
and
not a man guy. He's not typically
he's
a
a
man
zone
defender.
coverage guy. Yeah.
He's a zone coverage guy. I've said for most of his career. I think he's a good player, but I think he's overrated. The reason why he was fantastic in Seattle is because he had Cam Chancellor over the top. He was allowed to jump routes because he had a safety that was good, that was over the top, that could make any stop.
Yeah. Like Richard Sherman, great personality, uh, great on-field talent, able to gamble and stuff. And one of the best quotes of all time, "When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree," is one of the best sports quotes of all time. But Richard Sherman has not been able to recover from an Achilles tear, which is not, which I mean, well, he first off, he's been able to recover very
Yeah,
well and be a very productive
he
player
he
still,
is
but
still
he's
a
not
top
the
10.
same Richard. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
still a top 10 cornerback,
yeah.
but a top 10 cornerback that the fastest receiving core in the league, and it didn't matter who you put him on, there was someone faster.
He should be in zone. He was always great in zone. That was the thing
Yeah.
about him, is he didn't follow receivers.
Hmm.
Um, there's number of corners that I always put above him because it's
Hmm.
well. I think no. It was always even. I think you could even beat him in Seattle, where it's nope. Let's just put. Okay, we're gonna run our best receiver to the other side, like
Yep.
because he's not following him. So there was kind of that. So yeah, Sherman I think came closer to losing the game. I think it was just a moment of a better team, and the right breaks happened at the right time.
Yeah, and it was the moment didn't get to Mahomes,
No.
and we saw it in every game of the playoffs. They were down double digits, and in every game he brought
Well,
them
not
back.
just the playoffs. I thought I saw a stat that he was 5-0 this season if he ever got down if the Chiefs were ever down by double digits.
Yeah, like,
That's weird. That's
and
not supposed to happen. That's an anomaly.
no, and Mahomes just did it. Mahomes had this moment where he threw the pick and it didn't bother him.
Hmm.
The
He
defense
got
made some mistakes and it never got to him. It just
he got
it was
rattled
cool.
for a bit there in the third, where
It,
he was definitely rattled, and then something just clicked, and he was back.
yeah,
Um,
like
you
it's
watched it. He was nervous. He was afraid of
yeah,
pass rushes. He was afraid to make some throws, and that's what I
and then
watched. I was
he
like,
got
"Oh, this is over." And then he came back. It was weird. I've
and then
never
it
seen
was
a
right
quarterback
there.
do that.
It was right there in the fourth when he rolled away, got away, and made that one throw on the rollout. And I was like, oh, that's the moment. And it just spiked it for me.
Yeah,
He went off. It was one. This was one of the most exciting Super Bowls in a long time for me.
yep.
I enjoyed it a lot. Thought it was great. Uh, but with that excitement, you want to jump over to some more exciting news?
So
Trade
yes,
deadline for the NBA. I loved
trade
it.
deadline happened. So you guys didn't get to see this,
Mhm.
but I would. Jonathan was crazy watching Jonathan and Jordan too, a little bit for that matter. Just seeing in our chat of our the podcast group of our chat, just watching these guys get so excited at the slightest little rumor, and I'm just sitting there waiting and just what happened? No, I'm so excited. This is Christmas. I'm like, all right, guys, you guys are having a blast right now.
NFL trade deadline sucks,
Or
by the
yeah.
way. NBA trade deadline is almost as exciting as the playoffs
Well, I do
because
wonder. I
it's
think
so easy to trade people in the NBA.
what is I think scheme matters so much more in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say scheme doesn't matter in the NBA. No, scheme does, but you can plug and play. You can plug guys in. I think a lot easier in the NBA, and you
Well,
can
because you've
plug
got
in.
five guys in the
Yeah,
NBA as opposed to, you know, 11 at a
yes,
time.
but yeah, but bringing in a guy just at moment like no, you need weeks of them in
Mm-hmm.
that system and scheme
Yeah.
go through. Whereas the NBA, it's you get 3 or 4 days, and part of that I think comes from the whole.
Baseball has to be the easiest plug and play sport, though.
Uh, you would think,
Theoretically,
I think theoretically it is, but you watch the number of guys that just die after getting traded, or for just other little stuff. I don't think it's as easy as it should be.
that's true. But I think, well, but also baseball has all the minutia of, and you see home and road splits are so massive in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole different thing. Yeah, but I think that has a lot to do with the variables between ballparks because you get so used to one ballpark, and yeah.
Well, and then another big thing you see, a position you see get traded that trades more often than most others around the deadline is the pitchers.
Yeah, and
And I think
pitchers
that pitcher catcher relationship. I think that can
is
have
huge.
huge,
Yeah,
huge impacts.
yeah.
Um,
But let's get into those trades real quick. So let's start off with the big one, the one that excited me the most because it had all of the moving parts. I wish Sean could have been on this pod. Um,
yes,
but this is the huge one between Atlanta, Houston, and Minnesota. Um,
and
and
Denver.
Denver, yeah. And so essentially, uh, every person on every roster it felt like got traded, except for Houston. No, but the big pieces, and I'm sorry if I miss out some Denver guys. The big pieces that got traded were Clint Capella went to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and uh, Evan Turner went to Minnesota. Jared Vanderbilt went to Minnesota from Denver. Uh, Shabazz Napier went to Denver, and then they flipped him again later. Keita Bates Diop went to Denver. Noah Vonleh went to Denver. Gerald Green went to Denver. Atlanta got Nene, Clint Capella. Houston got Jordan Bell, and then they flipped him immediately to the Grizzlies, and we'll talk about that later. Because the Grizzlies are slowly becoming my number two team because I live in the Memphis area, and the Grizzlies are super exciting and fun to watch because they're young and cool. Um, and then and Houston got the big fish of the trade in Robert Covington, in my opinion. Some will say Capella was the big fish, but after tonight, the Rockets are 14-2 without Capella in the lineup. So I think they just play better without Capella.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
I know the
now I
guys
think
the
Capella
Nuggets.
fits. Mhm.
So the guys the Nuggets got rid of, they were definitely role play guys, but they were guys. I love me some Wancho.
Yeah. But the thing is, who was it? Who all did you get? You got rid of Wancho, Jared Vanderbilt, and who was
And
the
not
guy?
Harris.
Um.
The
Oh,
fans, most groups fans who they were really wanting, they would rather have given up Harris. Was the other guy. The
and
other
and he's the guy that
forward
I really
shooting
like.
guard.
Yeah, that wing guy that's really good. What is his name?
He's not on
But
the
I really
list.
like him. He's not on this list here.
Yeah.
But he's a really, and every time I saw him play, I was like, that is a guy I want on my team.
Yeah.
Really switchy, really good, kind of 3-and-D guy. I forget his name, but anyway.
But that was. I mean, it fits because that was the Nuggets. That's how the Nuggets were good. That's how the Nuggets were good this year.
Yeah.
No, we've got plug and play guys that are all kind of about the same. So you just rotated guys in. The Nuggets
Hmm.
at the time at points in this league were one of the deepest teams in the league,
Yeah.
which was made it really funny when they had, was it 7 or 8 active players,
Hmm.
and they went and beat, was it the Jazz or the Trailblazers?
It was, I think, the Blazers that they beat.
Yeah.
Um, my deal with my only deal for and we can talk a little bit more about the Nuggets in this deal. I feel like they simplified their rotation solely because Michael Porter Jr. has just exploded out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. Um, they created a lot of, like, because those guys, Wancho, Jared Vanderbilt, the minutes they were getting were taking away from Michael Porter Jr. and
Yeah.
and it was solely to get him more playing time, and they got they got a couple of second rounders in that, I believe, as well. So it was really good. I like Napier for them, but I also understand the flip that
Is
they
that
got.
we flipped Napier as soon as we got him.
Yeah, and I'm looking for it right now. For Jordan McRae, who is he's another kind of plug and play, just a guy that'll shoot and chuck. So as opposed to having to have the ball in his hands
Yeah.
as much. So that's probably a little bit better system fit for them. I like that a little bit better. Let's run through some of the other trades. So actual deadline day trades. Uh, Golden State flipped Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson this third to Philadelphia for 3 second-round picks. Golden State has to reload. Those guys weren't in the near future help for them. They're last place in the league.
Well,
Those two
if we're
wing
gonna go
guys weren't
Golden
going to help.
State one, let's go
Well,
the Golden
I'm
State
just
one.
trying to go in order of everything that broke.
Okay.
Yeah. Order of everything that broke. And those two wing guys will help Philadelphia. Philadelphia needs guard help, and I don't see Robinson as a guard. He's a forward. I don't think he's got any minutes in for this team. I don't think I don't think he plays in their rotation because
Mm-hmm.
there's so much forward depth. But Alec Burks might be someone who can play a few minutes at two guard. Maybe take some of Matisse Thybulle minutes and makes that work a little bit better. Um, uh, Here's the one that kind of hits me angrily. Uh, Andre Iguodala got traded to the Heat for Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters, and James Johnson. For Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, and Solomon Hill. Uh, on the one hand, this is way more than I thought they were going to get for Iggy. On the other hand, Iggy should have just been a grown up and played for the Grizzlies. Like,
From the
his,
beginning of the season, I remember conversations were going on like, no, this is the way there. You gotta waive him because that's the. I'm like, no, you got brought in to you're brought in for a contract, and in a league like the NBA where contracts are so weird, where they don't
Yeah.
mean what they mean anywhere else. There's
Yeah.
only a single case I ever can think of in football where a guy moved or was brought in solely for what they could do contract wise, and that was when the Browns
Don't
got a
speak his
second
name.
round pick
Don't speak his name.
for Brock Osweiler.
Don't speak his anyway.
Or like they got us they got a second round pick to acquire a guy that they were just going to cut anyway. Like, and I don't know the minutia of how that worked, but that doesn't happen in the NFL. Like that was the one thing I remember. Whereas the NBA, I can't figure out how the contracts work because apparently they're all guaranteed, but apparently they're not guaranteed, and you move things around, and
Yeah.
but
Well, and the thing
that's
that
the way the league is, and I gather that's the way the league is. And Iguodala should know. No, this is where you're at in your career. Is you're a guy that teams bring in with a contract that's about to expire
and trade you.
or expiring. No, you're not brought in to play anymore on all these teams. No, you're brought in because your contract has value,
Yeah.
not because you have value. Your contract.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, Iggy would have had value to Memphis. Memphis is the 8 seed. Memphis could be a top 5 seed
Yeah.
if they had Iggy playing all year. But I'm very happy. I think the Grizzlies got some great value out of that. They already waived Dion Waiters apparently, and then they flipped James Johnson later to Minnesota for Gorgie Jing, which helps them because they did not have a backup center. They were playing Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark at backup center, which is not terrible, but just more depth in the front court is always helpful.
Yeah.
And Justice Winslow is a baller, and he is gonna play real well. He can ball out pretty well. Um, hmm I think let's move on. The Hawks. The Hawks traded. It looks like the Hawks traded a pick for a non-rotation piece in Derek Walton Jr. We're not going to talk about that one. The Grizzlies flipped. The Grizzlies flipped Bruno Caboclo to the Rockets for Jordan Bell. Jordan Bell was not really playing for the Timberwolves. He probably won't play much for the Grizzlies. Bruno Caboclo is interesting because he's been in and out of the Grizzlies lineup because of health reasons. But he's technically a small forward, but he's actually, if he breaks the rotation in Houston, he'd be the tallest guy. He's 6'9", shoots about 37% from three, and plays some rangy defense. Like he's an interesting case. And that Houston had him before in training camp twice, and has traded him before the season started both times. So he's someone who's familiar with the Houston system.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. The Hawks got Scalabissier from the Blazers for looked like a pick. The Blazers just needed to cut dead weight at this point. They're getting some front court healthy again, so they needed to cut his weight. I think that's fine. James Ennis left the Sixers, which he was another forward that wasn't getting minutes, so I don't understand why they brought in Glenn Robinson.
So there are a lot of things, and I think we can sum up a lot of them.
Yeah.
The Pistons, the Drummond of the Cat. I kind of mentioned this. I feel like half of these trades were made solely because no one had talked about a team for a while. Like the Sixers, the Sixers are trading Ennis to the Magic. I think the Magic were, hey, no one's talking about us. We need to be mentioned on trade day. Who wants to do something with us just so we can be mentioned on deadline day? The Pistons trading Draymond to the Cavs. No one's talking about us today. We need to trade some. And I think that's half of all these trades were just bored.
You want to sell your fans on the fact that you're doing something.
What you
want is to lose momentum. I think now I don't think Ennis totally fits in that. The Magic are bound and determined to try to make the playoffs. And they're doing okay. I think they're like a seventh or eighth spot right now, and but their wing depth is a little shaky uh,
Mm.
because Jonathan Isaac's health has been shaky. And then they don't really have a normal wing. They have a bunch of guys that are better as fours trying to play threes, and James Ennis is a guy that's a natural three.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit helpful for them. Here's the big one. The big trade deadline day was D'Angelo Russell traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves uh, for well, let's
Wiggins.
see. It was D'Angelo Russell, a 21 second round pick, Jacob Evans, and Amari Spellman to Minnesota uh, for the 2021 unprotected first pick, and Andrew Wiggins. This is this is this is solely Golden State saying we messed up with Russell, but we don't want to admit it, so we're going to make you give us a first round pick so we save face.
Well, I'm still blown away that that trade happened because they seemed I felt like they seemed happy with what they got with Russell. Like, nope, that they were ready to go. They brought in Russell. Like, nope, that's going to be our big three. Next,
Yeah,
when everyone's healthy, we're going to run with Clay, Steph, and D'Lo. Or yeah, and like that was it. And I was like, oh, that's not a bad group to run with.
I have a hot take on this.
It just kind of, and that was what it was all before. And that's when, because people were talking about making trades, that them making trades for him, and the Warriors were like, no, we're not interested. No, we're not interested. And it's like, no, but that's also because the Warriors are not a traditional bad team this year.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Draymond has been so bad being the number one guy that I think they were fielding Draymond trades and realized they couldn't trade Draymond and thought, okay, we're just going to get some picks. Because Draymond has been real bad this year. He's been
Mm-hmm.
bad on both ends of the basketball. He's been a net negative
Yeah.
for the first time in his career.
Well, he's never. Even in Michigan, he was never really the guy. Even in Michigan State, was he?
I
He was
don't know if
always
that's
he
true
was
that he
always
was
a piece, a good piece, but I don't remember him being
the guy.
because he was a. I know because what he was a second round pick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a second round pick, which was stupid. I had him as a lottery talent coming out.
But it's just kind of like so. I don't think he was ever like a the guy. He just
Yeah,
there's certain players that can't be the guy, and that's fine. You don't have to be the guy. But so I was just shocked that was a trade that happened. I thought that was what they
yeah,
wanted to go with. They had no real motivation to get rid. But then stuff's coming out now, and I don't. This is what kind of gives me credit, or gives you more credit to the save face thing with Kerr. Kerr has been bad mouthing
D'Lo.
D'Lo. Like, no, this guy. No, we have a guy that actually fits the system and the team, and it's like,
But here's the
or
thing.
is that? Are you throwing your general manager so hard underneath the bus of? You brought this guy in. You signed this guy to a significant contract to be your three
Yeah.
or your third guy.
Well, I think that's the problem. D'Lo, D'Lo, even with the Nets, D'Lo has not shown he could play well with others.
Yeah.
Um, I think there was 2 games this year where D'Lo took more shots than everyone else combined already. Now, granted, a lot of that is because everyone else stinks on that team.
Who else can take shots on the
Yeah.
Warriors this year?
Now, part of it is that, but I think they were afraid that D'Lo was not going to be able to change his game to fit Steph,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was an issue. I really like Wiggins this year. Wiggins has made some huge strides and improvements, and if the Timberwolves had any more team success, we would have been talking about him for that Brandon Ingram spot.
Yeah.
On the All-Star team, because he's played really well this year. I think he'll fit that system if he can cut out a few more of those mid-range attempts and make them threes and rim runs. I think he's a better Harrison Barnes
Okay.
for that team, which is all they need him to be. They need him to be a better Harrison Barnes. And then the last trades, of course, Marcus Morris going to the Clippers is huge. That
Now, is that the
helps an
Morris that people
already
like or the Morris that people don't like?
okay. So Markeith is the one people don't like.
Okay.
Marcus is a former Rocket. I loved Marcus. It made sense when we got rid of him because we weren't totally contending and we were trying to actually get pieces to contend. But
Mhm.
uh, Marcus is good. Good for Marcus to get out of New York because anytime you can get a good player out of New York and out of that dumpster fire, I feel happy.
Yeah.
It really it helps shore up the only position that the Clippers looked weak at was that 4 position, and now they've got a good 4. Um, and so the Clippers have a legit 8 or 9 guys that could start on almost any team,
Mm-hmm.
and they're versatile guys that can play multiple positions, can really play well. I don't know who you close with as your 1. Do you close with Lou Will or Patrick Beverly as your 1? Do you close with Paul George at your 2, or do you let Lou Will slide to 2 and move George and Kawhi up a position? And do you let Land? I mean, there's just all sorts of stuff.
Well, the other question, I mean, another follow up, and this we weren't fully getting into this, but I think we've kind of hinted at it before. Do positions actually matter anymore in basketball? Because the one position that we kind of thought did,
Mm-hmm.
the Warriors have said, I mean, unless they've got some weird free agent that they know that they can bring in, the Warriors have said we actually don't care about positions anymore because the one position that actually still existed, they don't have one anymore. So
The
do
Warriors or
are
the
positions?
Rockets?
I mean, sorry, the Rockets. I mean the
Yeah.
Rockets.
So
Sorry.
Well, okay, so we've had a 2-game sample size of them since the trade deadline. And I watched both games. I'm a huge Rockets fan. Um, on the one
What?
hand,
No.
yeah, on the one hand, it works really great, and it worked fantastic against the Lakers because they were like, we don't care if you out rebound us. What we're gonna do is we have first off, it's essentially the Ben Wallace effect of it doesn't matter how big you are if you keep the person from getting post position to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Gordon, James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Thabo Cephalosha are really, really, really good about getting their big old butts under people's hips and
Yep.
shoving them out of the way.
That
Um,
I can say when I mean I never did. I've been short my entire life.
yeah.
Um. But I remember there have been a number of cases when I've just played gym ball
Mm-hmm.
and I got boards and people look at me
Yeah.
how did you get boards and
It's
I
I boxed
got
out.
position. They weren't
You
prepared
box
for
out.
me, and I
Mhm.
boxed out. I didn't grab any board up high. No, I
No.
straight up waited for the ball to bounce to me because I was pushing people out of the way. So,
Yeah. And so that's how the Rockets played. And then they made this trade not because Clint Capella was bad,
yeah.
but they made this trade because it unlocks Russell. Um, that 40 points was the easiest 40 points I think I've ever seen Russ have in his
Mhm.
career. He took he took like 2 threes, and only one of them was a bad 3, but I can forgive one bad 3 a game. But the other one was just a corner 3 wide open. Just
Yeah.
take it in the and he just at every time they would double team Harden. And now my only issue with the Rockets Lakers game was Harden only took 10 shots. Harden needs to take more than 10 shots. Um, and he was I think 7 for 10 and had like 16 points. Like it was he, but they double teamed him every play, and so he just passed, and then Russ dunked. Like
So
it was just spread the floor wide, and it's a 3 or a Russ dunk every time.
so who have they played? Who have they played without a center yet? They played the Lakers and then who else?
They played the Jazz, they played the Suns tonight and lost, but that was kind of fluky. It was really fluky 3-point shooting. That and when one team just makes threes and the other team doesn't, it throws it all off.
It. I'd be interested to see what happens when. I mean, yes, there's the one game against the Jazz, but there's also taking some time to have to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
gonna
like
this.
Spurs,
I'm
I
gonna
believe.
sound really homer here, but I'm just gonna use it as an example. And he's not even known great for his defense.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know what happens when they do play a team once we've seen this and there's some film on it.
Yeah.
Because Gobert is a fantastic center.
But Gobert, they do this because the Jazz have matched up with the Rockets several times. And the way the Rockets have always beat the Jazz is pull Capella, throw PJ at the 5,
Yeah.
and Gobert can't keep up.
Yeah. So there's that. But I'm going to be interested to see, especially on the defensive end, what they'll do against. I mean, a homerish thing. I mean, what they'll do against the Nuggets. What they'll do against Jokic.
Okay, so the difference with the Nuggets is what Jokic gives up defensively, he can get back on the offense. Gobert is
offensively,
not.
He's going to be able to dominate offensively because he's going to be able to drive to the rim. He's going to be able to do exactly what Jokic should be doing every single game. Drive to the rim, hit a dunk. Oh, if someone comes off of you, hit the guy in the 3 and you get your assist.
Yeah, but
to combine that with, he should be getting boards. He should be getting a massive triple-double every time they play the Rockets this year, the rest of the year.
Yeah, so Jokic, the 3 teams that I think can pretty easily beat the Rockets by going small, or by bullying them, by going big, are the Nuggets, the Bucks, and the Lakers, but for different reasons. So the Lakers, if the Lakers just play AD at 5 and LeBron at 4.
Yeah. It's not even going big. Like, you don't even have to go big. It's just
that's not going big. It's
just put a basic team out there. Put the team out there as it.
The only thing the Lakers have to change is put McGee and Howard on the bench. Quit playing McGee and Howard, and you should win. They should have won that first game pretty handily, I think. And then the Nuggets are different because the Nuggets big shoots threes.
Yeah.
And so he's not giving up the threes, and he gets it back on the offense. And the same thing for the Bucks. The Bucks are like the Bucks are what would happen if you gave everyone on the Rockets another 2 inches. And then stretched Russ to about 6 inches taller. Because Giannis plays exactly like Russ.
Mm-hmm.
Except Russ is like 6 inches shorter than Giannis. And the system works for both teams. I think it'll work for both teams. You just I don't know that Lopez gives you what you want defensively against a Houston, maybe. But I think so what? They pull Lopez and just put Ilyasova there instead. And the Bucks.
It's going to be interesting to see how this happens because it's not a lot of teams. I mean, I'll use the Golden State example for a bit. The Golden State played a lot of small ball, but they had an option to stop playing small.
Yes,
and that was always a thing. You could.
And they had a guy who was All NBA like 3 years before their big run. Too.
Yeah. And then another part is there are a few power forwards and centers that may not have height, but they had sheer athleticism. I mean, I look back now; he's fallen off a lot, but Kenneth Reed when he played for the Nuggets, I think he's 6'9". He might be 6'10", or he may have been listed at 6'10", but he's 6'9". He's not a giant.
The Rockets are going to sign Kenneth Reed in the next week again. Because he played last year for him and went on a good run with them, played well with them, and I think they're going to sign him again.
He can get good boards because the guy's just a freak. Yes, he's shorter than another guy, but he can out-jump people that are a few inches taller than him. Like, it works. He can play that position big. I mean, so that's kind of a big thing. It's not even just the boxing out thing, as you mentioned earlier. Just these are guys that are actually capable of doing it. So that was really cool. But we'll go ahead and move on to an interesting, fun story. I am excited. I know some of the people in our group are not, but I'm excited about the XFL.
I'm so excited.
I
I just like football though, so that
yeah,
might be it. But I'm super
there's
excited.
that. I want it. I want it to do well. I think it's fun. There's room for a second tier football league. I mean, looking at a European example for soccer, and they're not even considered minor leagues. There's how many different tiers of football in England? There's like 4 tiers of professional football in England,
Hmm.
and they've got fewer big cities than we do. Like,
Yeah. Well, you'll have 5 or 6 in a city, 5 or 6 clubs in a city.
5 or 6 clubs in a city, and your major clubs like Chelsea. Chelsea's like 3 teams deep as is.
Hmm.
Like they've got 2 other minor league teams within Chelsea themselves,
Yep.
and so it's like there's plenty of space. So I think the NFL or football, American football, should be able to do something similar. Um, it'll be interesting to see what coaches do. That's going to be a big thing. Is coaching and understanding games. Probably going with a closer to college system than a pro style system.
Probably fair. I think you're going to have to simplify your systems. You're not going to be able to run out Sean McVay type stuff. You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to have. I mean, you obviously don't have a Tom Brady that can audible everything.
Yeah,
You don't have. There is there's not a Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes type that's going to be an electrifying mobile quarterback that's going to dot people up too.
I think so. It's good. That's one that'll be interesting coming into the future because there are a lot more athletic quarterbacks
Yeah.
um,
Well,
that
no, no,
just don't
no.
get
They'll have
chances
athletic guys.
out of college. I mean, just fast speed that can do some
Yeah.
decent throws out of college. Then I
Mhm.
think we realize there are, and those are the guys that I think is going to get interesting. I mean, I know I look at growing up an Air Force football fan. I mean, every year you've got a stud running. I mean, a stud running quarterback that comes through Air
Yeah, but you're not
Force.
allowed to go to a military academy and not be able to run. So
Like that's a big portion of the thing. So it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to go through and just kind of highlight. There's a bunch of different rules that are coming
that
through, and
are
just kind of show
awesome.
our favorites. We're not going to live here and spend much time here, but the kickoff rule. I like the whole concept of every
Mhm.
play is going to be something. And this is a thing, not just that's the other thing is people forget who the commissioner of this league is. It's Oliver Luck, who's a smart dude and a good
Yeah.
foot guy. Like this
Yeah.
is not. That's a thing we always
And
want to say.
his
This is
genes
not the
produced
XFL
Andrew Luck.
2001.
So yeah, and his genes produced Andrew Luck, so that automatically gives him like 45 football points.
Yeah, this is not. This is not a game of no. This is football. This is not wrestling
Yeah.
football, which is what we had before. This is
Yeah.
actually football, but without the gimmicks, but with ideas on how to do stuff. Of recognizing problems and throwing out creative ideas how to fix it.
Yeah.
So the NFL has a problem, or all football has a problem with kickoffs and punts being the most dangerous play in sports.
Yeah.
You got a 220-pound man running at full speed with a 20-yard run up at another 220-pound man who's had another 20-yard run up, and those two combined, you got two unstoppable forces meeting, and someone's getting hurt.
Yeah. It's all the time.
So the NFL tries to fix this problem by making that play absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
And it's boring. You don't kickoffs are boring. Oh, touchback, okay, cool, whatever. So the XFL says let's find a way to make it. How do we make it? Okay, a crazy idea. We're gonna make it look like a play, and we're gonna do things to discourage touchbacks.
Yeah. And I like it. I really like it. My favorite my favorite part about all of this is their focus on player safety is a big deal, and I think we'll see some of this stuff sneak into the NFL. I like my favorite one is a completed pass only needs 1 foot in bounds.
And that's
Um,
a safe. Their rationale for that safety, and I've never thought of it as a safety issue. But when they describe it, you're like, wait, no, this is totally a safety issue.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we definitely need to do this. It's like, I I am just a big fan of this kind of quote unquote common sense. Hey, if we can make that safer, let's just go ahead and do it. Not worry
Yeah,
about it. I love that. I love the extra official that's there just to spot the ball so it goes quicker.
yeah,
Um,
that's the other thing. It's let's. There's a lot of focus on pace of
mhm.
play, but on also not losing anything else. The double forward pass is kind of cool as long as the ball stays behind the line of scrimmage. Um,
Mhm.
it you can throw it again. It I don't see a reason not to. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't see a
It's not a
reason not to have
safety
double forward
reason.
pass.
It really doesn't give that much more of a competitive advantage.
Yeah,
It makes it more fun.
yeah.
And yeah,
And I can't wait to see that happen because a lot of these guys will be guys that have what's cool is a lot of your receivers have at least high school quarterback experience,
hmm
and so that'll be fun to see. Um,
yeah. You mentioned the
and
overtime,
then
the
of course,
shootout.
my favorite, yeah, that's my favorite change. The shootout. I want that to come to the NFL. If I
Well,
could get one thing to come to the NFL is the shootout.
shootouts are fantastic in all sports. Like the shootout, it's the most drama filled spot of any sport. Well, why not? We can do it here. It
Yeah.
it's great. We get a winner,
Hmm.
which is awesome. There are a few up tempo top. My favorite, if you go to the XFL website, where they give the full list of rules. We kind of mentioned a few of these, but then my favorite, and then each one they put what the NFL rule is, what the college rule is, and why their rule is like this. But my favorite section of this is the 5 common sense rules, and
Hmm.
it's we've mentioned some of them there. Yeah, the 1 foot in bounds, and they're like, there's a lot of debate. It makes things weird of whether or not things were inbounds or out of bounds. If you get 1 foot
Yeah.
in, you're fine.
Yep.
Dedicated ball spotting official. Again, brilliant. Like,
Hmm.
let's make the game go quicker. We don't have to worry about it. There's a guy whose only job is spot the ball. Um, they're gonna have automatic or the plan. It's still in development apparently, but the goal is for pure communication between a player and the coach. Makes sense. A simplified illegal man downfield rule that doesn't like get there, which I think we've talked about before. That it's just a weird rule in college. It's like this is just it makes the run pass option
Yeah.
too dominant because we can't
Yeah.
understand what the rule is.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
that's just gonna be it's gonna be exciting, and then we can kind of look at some of the teams that go through. It's gonna be interesting making a call on what teams are gonna be good because we kind
Yeah.
of hit on this with some of the stuff. There's a few quarterbacks in the league that we've heard of because they were really big names in college and they just didn't work. And then there are a few other teams that were like, man, I don't recognize any of these quarterbacks' names. And I don't know which one is better to have a failed NFL quarterback or to have a guy that never really got that shot and has that kind of desire.
Well, we'll just start with my team. Of course, all Houston sports are my team. So de facto, the Roughnecks are my team.
He's not allowed
Um,
to change ever. For the
okay.
record, now we can go back
Mhm.
to this
Yeah.
podcast when he
All right.
tries to become a Dallas Roughneck or a Dallas Renegades fan.
Mhm.
Say no.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Connor Cook, not Connor, is it Connor Cook? Yeah, Connor Cook. His only NFL experience that we ever saw was a half a game at uh, when he was with Oakland when let's see, Derek Carr went down and then someone else was the backup. Matt McGloin, who is also on a team, I can't remember which
Yeah.
one, went down. And then all of a sudden the third string receiver is supposed to be there. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And he throws, and it's just like throw the ball to Amari every time. And so he doesn't do very well. And then his only career start in the NFL was the playoff game that they had somehow made in Houston, where he threw like 37 interceptions.
Yeah.
So I'm not totally looking forward to Connor Cook being the Roughnecks quarterback, but it's still going to be kind of fun because he really didn't get a shake. He played in a playoff game for his only NFL career start, and he was a third string quarterback before then. Uh, and then he was on practice squads until even last year. I think he was on the Lions practice squad. So he's not a terrible player, but it's interesting. And I'm gonna be interested more in the guys that we didn't see, like who's the guy that was a 4-year starter at Oklahoma that just never felt like he got a chance? Got drafted by Pittsburgh. Yeah, Landry. Yeah, I'm interested to see how he does.
Landry's in Dallas, where he's meeting his old coach.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how he shakes out. Cardale Jones. I'm interested to see him play. So these are guys who had really good college careers, but I don't think got a chance even in the pros. So
yeah, some of them I feel. I mean, it's again, you're the quarterback. You're the 3 or 4 year starter at Oklahoma. You're gonna at least get a look at the NFL.
Yeah,
you got. I mean, you got to prove something. Someone's gonna give you something.
Yeah, but he ended up getting drafted by the Steelers. So what do you do there? Mm-hmm.
So I was reading something on one of their posts that he was doing demolition, like house demolition.
Yeah,
that was the job that he was just doing. Just is it someone recognized me and aren't you? Yep, that's me. Well, I'm in a weird spot. It's tough for me to pick a team because geographically I have no.
Yeah, you have no one geographically in the.
No one for either my home or where I currently at. I kind of, just because they're kind of in the middle and I would like to see them do well, I'm thinking I kind of want to root for the Seattle Battlehawks or St. Louis Battlehawks because it's a cool name. The other issue that I run into is there are a lot of teams that, like, East Coast teams, LA teams, Dallas. No, I don't like those fan bases. So I don't know if it's the same fan bases, but typically I just don't enjoy it. No, I don't want to see those guys succeed. I don't want, as we mentioned earlier, I don't want to see those fans happy. Yeah. So I don't want to go there. Kind of would like Seattle. I've got a lot of friends who are Seattle fans, so going with that. So for me, I'm kind of a tough one, but the St. Louis Battlehawks are kind of they've got quarterbacks that aren't big.
To still be in St. Louis. I want pro football to still be in St. Louis.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic if they do well. So that's kind of where they're like. So their quarterbacks are not. The quarterback out of Old Dominion, Tyler Henneke.
Yeah.
Tamu or Jordan Tamu
is
TA'Amu. He was at Mississippi.
Okay.
I think they named him the starter, but they've got 3. They've also got Nick Fitzgerald from Mississippi State.
Okay.
I think they're the only team that's got 3 quarterbacks on the roster, but that's kind of the one that I'm kind of looking at. Most of the other team players, I don't know their names on most teams, so I actually don't recognize running back or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited. I like the rules that they have that they put into place because I think it's going to give a lot of options.
Yeah.
For stuff to keep things at least entertaining and watched. Another big portion of it is Vince McMahon's got a lot of money tied into this, and he knows that he's going to be losing money for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing is, the original thing of it was that things have to make money in order for them to survive. Well, this knows it's not going to, this is not set up that it's got to make money.
It's not the AAF.
It's not the AAF. It doesn't have to support itself right away.
Yeah.
And a point that I had heard from a few people is I think they may have chosen the wrong stadiums. The
I think that's fair.
smallest stadium that they're playing in, I can't remember where I heard that it was, but is a 20,000 seat stadium.
Hmm.
That's the smallest stadium they're playing in.
Is that the cage? Is that the smallest one?
I can't remember what they said. This is just something I heard on a different podcast actually.
Yeah, because
Not-
I know they're playing in the cage, which is the Cougars stadium, like the house that Case Keenum built.
but
But and that one's decently small for a but even 20,000 sounds smaller than the cage. So,
but
but like
and but
the
but
team
even
playing
then,
in MetLife, that's going to be empty.
yeah, New York's playing in MetLife Stadium. Like
Hmm. And
it's
then
gonna be, and that's the thing is, so even if they do get a decent crowd that shows up, they're not getting 80,000 people that show up there. It's gonna look awful. What they
yeah,
needed to do was they needed to partner up, I think, with the MLS teams and try to
yeah,
get in those smaller MLS venues.
or AAA ball clubs.
AAA ballpark. I mean, two purpose stadiums never they don't work well. They're really gonna fun as a kind of a gimmick, but
Yeah,
they always look funny.
yeah,
Especially in a AAA park where things are not set up to really
yeah.
go there. I'd say that, and go with more colleges, especially state
Hmm.
schools. Go find schools that you can rent, other spots. But that'll be interesting. So I'm hoping that won't get it. That won't hurt it too much. It's gonna hurt it because it's gonna look weird when you see no one there. I've heard stories of good, 100 level tickets for the Dallas game this weekend selling for $20.
Ooh,
And on top of that, he bought them. The person or bought it from the venue, and they've been emailing him. Hey, we saw you bought tickets. Would you like a buy one get one free now?
yikes.
So they're doing their best to try to get people in there, and so that's going to be the worry about it.
Mhm.
But hopefully it'll be good. Pick your team. I said I'm going. I'm going to go with St. Louis.
All right, everyone,
With
comment on here what your XFL team
yeah,
is.
just pick a team. You don't know. That's the fun thing is too. You
You get to
don't
pick
know who's going to be good. I saw a Vegas odd thing. The majority of the league is 5-1 or 5-1 to win.
and
Dallas is a little higher, but that's because they've got two names that people recognize.
yeah. All right.
But
With
yeah,
that,
so
guys,
it's just gonna be fun. Anyway, have a good one. Enjoy and have a good
mhm,
weekend.
we'll
Have a good
catch you
week.
next time.
So we see you. Bye bye.